Team. Well, the fat is certainly in the fryer right now, isn't it? The epicenter of the crisis is right here, and as ever, you all and React has put itself right in the middle of the hotspots and biting off as much as we can chew, and actually probably biting off slightly more than we can chew, but still finding a way to chew it. For me, it feels a bit like when I've been kite surfing in a gale, and I'm always on the edge of just running out of talent and getting blown off into space, and we're certainly holding on to that right now. For all of you that continue to step forward and make yourself available for tasks, often bouncing from one task to the next, I just cannot thank you enough for everything that you're doing. This week, well, over the weekend, from Friday night, getting a request to support the mass vaccination centres down in Tamara's region in the southwest. The team in the ops team, Nicola, Luke, and then Chris and Tim in the IT team, they mobilised 275 volunteers over the weekend to be on the start line, good to go, 08 Monday morning, which is just unreal. And also makes this week by far the biggest operational week in our charity's history, with 275 volunteers on the ground, with more stacked up in the rota, ready to come in and rotate through those shifts. That's unreal. And to remind you that ops team there's only 4 people in the ops team in the centre, and they are spinning these plates with just the most incredible professionalism. And as I said last week, I'm sure that Nicola's clock has 29 hours in the day, with the rest of us mere mortals only have 24. It's remarkable what they're all achieving in getting you to where the country needs you the most right now. I went down to Bristol last Friday. I've been to Salisbury this week, and I'm back there again tomorrow morning actually, to visit the teams on the ground in these mass vaccination centres. And on the expression of interest that you've seen, and on some of the social media, it will say we're doing marshalling. It's so much more than that. I was blown away by the work of Nick down in Bristol and the team there. First thing that got me was just how tightly they'd bonded as a team. Just typical of people that share values with a desire to help and get things done. There was this just incredible bond between them, but also between them and the public. Keeping the elderly and the vulnerable moving through this centre in a controlled fashion, keeping them distance, keeping them safe, not letting them stand up too long, is not as easy as you would think. But where there were some of the paid contractors there, it's just a transaction. They're just moving the body. Our people, just the most beautiful approach to keeping them moving far more efficiently than anything else was doing down there, but with this incredible human touch. Some of these people have been in shelter for 10 months. This is the first time they've been out. So in some of them, they're terrified and really anxious. And some of them, they want to tell you about things that happened to them in 1947 when they were watching football down there. And our people were handling that balance just so perfectly, and supporting the NHS staff and the clinical care teams there in their processes, so that we didn't get too many bottlenecks. I was just blown away by the operation that Nick and the guys were running down there. It was unreal and wonderful to see a mix of old experienced responders with new volunteers that have come in from a variety of different backgrounds, not all from the veteran community, just working together just beautifully. And the same when I went to Salisbury yesterday to see Charlie's efforts down there. I mean, we expect nothing less from Charlie McLaughlin. He's an absolute monster, an absolute superhero. But they've just gripped that situation so well. And on day one, reaching 80% of the people that needed to go through, and those that didn't go through, is because they didn't turn up. So the team down there is doing an incredible job. I also got to meet the very quiet Chaz, who's become an absolute legend of this response over the last 10 months, doing everything from Guys Thomas at the beginning all the way through here, bouncing from task to task to task, just leaning in and doing the heavy lifting. So there is a tremendous amount happening around the bazaars, and this little tenacious, gritty organisation just doesn't give up, and it doesn't give up because of you, because you don't give up. If you looked at this on paper, we should have been out of the game months and months ago. We're racing towards 365 days deployed. We should have been dead and buried a long time back, just burnt out and done everything we could, probably back in June in reality. But because of you and the volunteers that have joined us along the way, and because of this just remarkable team that I get to spend time with in Chilmark, we continue to pull it off. We continue to answer the call and just walk into that fray wherever we're needed. And whilst we're doing this incredible work in the vaccination centres, and to be honest, if it wasn't for you, those centres probably wouldn't have been able to open on Monday. This is how pivotal what it is you're doing is to the national response. Because when Tamara got this request for the mass support, there was no one else. So if it wasn't you in there doing that, I don't know who else would be. And that can only mean that those centres wouldn't have opened. You are having strategic impact with your tactical inputs. And it's something that I hope you will all be proud of for a very, very long time. I know that when I get time to reflect on this and look back, I'll be incredibly proud of everything that we've done and everything that you've made happen through this crisis. But we're coming to a particularly tough time again now, where with the infection rate now just starting to drop, we have the 2 or 3 week lag, and of course now unfortunately we have to deal with the death rate, and we're standing the mortuaries up, certainly around the south of England at the moment, and there's tasks coming out of Hampshire for very, very frontline support in hospitals, turning bodies, spills, this kind of thing. And I know that our people, our volunteers will come forward and act with this distinction again at this critical time. But it is going to be a tough few weeks. The HQ team is red hot at the moment. We're on demand again at the moment with so much going on. But if you ever find yourself in these kind of situations, you want to be surrounded by the best people, and we certainly do feel like we're surrounded by some of the best people in the world, in all of you. It's okay to get yourself into a gunfight if you're surrounded by gunfighters, and every time we make an ask, someone remarkable comes out of the volunteer base with a set of experiences and values that we could have only ever dreamed of a few years ago, and it just happens every time. So we feel entirely confident that we can deliver this because of all of you, and you've never let us down. Beyond not letting us down or letting the organization down, you excel every single time. Every situation we put ourselves into, the incredible volunteers, you always put it off, and just with staggering results. I can't thank you enough. So it's been a busy week, and it's going to get busier. For those of you that saw my update last week, I started talking about the regional reps and the stakeholder engagement managers that we've had out on the ground since March. They were wading through the unmet needs in communities. They are keeping React in the fight, but by keeping React in the fight, they're keeping the NHS in the fight, because often the tasks that they're now generating are critical, and if it's not us, we don't think there's anyone else that can do them. And to those 10 regional reps, one day I can't wait to sit down with you all over a beer and just try and talk through what it is you've all done over the last 10 months. And the same with the stakeholder engagement managers that are working for the multi-agency cells across the country. You are having strategic impact for your country at this time. And it's unbelievable. So for those of you that haven't yet got on task and you're sitting on the sidelines, I just urge you to respond to those EOIs. If you can get off the bench and get into the game, then do, because what is happening on the ground right now is nothing short of incredible. And to see the passion and the professionalism of our teams, and they're having a good time while they're doing it. They're enjoying themselves because they know they're at the centre, they're at the main effort, and they're doing it together, and they've bound tight as a team, and they're getting this done. So if you're sitting on the sidelines and thinking, should I, shouldn't I, do it. You will not regret it, and it will be something that you'll be able to look back on in years to come and know you did your bit. When the chips were down and shit got real, you stepped forward and you did your bit. So that's my update from around the bazaars. Unfortunately, there's some sad news as well at the moment with the full-time team at HQ. Joe Parsons, who's our Director of Fundraising, who has just kept us in the game for so long by just pulling little checks out of nowhere when we've been up against it. She's got 2 beautiful little girls who are being homeschooled, and she just can't balance the stress of us right now with having to homeschool. Imogen and Annabelle. So Jo is on furlough at the moment for childcare reasons, which has made the fundraising team, really quite dysfunctional, without the ability to lead it and coordinate it. So unfortunately, the whole fundraising team is going on furlough. I say the whole. There's only 3 of them, and in that, Susie Wood, who many of you will have spoken to on Slack and the like, has actually decided to leave us for the charity she was working at before in Haiti. So it's really sad to see her go, especially during this really very busy time. She's been with us for a year, and she's picked up everything. Everything that needed doing, Susie's picked it up and knitted it together, often in really, really trying times. So if you're in the Slack fundraising channels at the moment and you're not getting a response, it's because there's no one on the other end of that at the moment, and actually it'll be me that's on point for fundraising relationships until we can get Jo and Erin back off furlough, which is going to be as quickly as we can humanly manage that. And also a massive blow is that Bethan, our Chief of Staff / Director of Strategy and Operations, latterly, is also stepping down the middle of next month, which is something I haven't really got my head around until about yesterday. I was chatting to her this morning. I was sort of hoping it was all a bad joke. Many of you will know Bethan, but for those of you that don't, everything that this organisation's become over the last 2 years is largely because of her efforts and her skill in helping keep me on the ground, keep the team gelled together. She is the glue and the grease that keeps this thing together, and she has just shouldered so much burden to drive this organisation forward, and she's going to be irreplaceable, absolutely irreplaceable. As a senior person in the organisation, as a friend, as someone that just puts up with my ridiculousness and keeps me level, she's going to be absolutely irreplaceable. And I know the team will feel the same because of the way she gels them together and de-escalates the heat. So for those of you that know Bethan or don't, unfortunately she's leaving us on the 12th to go back to her portfolio career and enjoy a little bit more time in her beautiful home Barton, instead of being in Chilmark all the time trying to unfuck everything that I've broken, and then that's a big blow. But you'll see a bit more on all of that in the newsletters that come out over the next few weeks. But I want you to hear it from us that those are some of the big movements right now, and of course that combined with what I described earlier means that we're under intense pressure right now. But because of all of you, because of that regional rep screen and the stakeholder managers that we've got that we can really lean on as an extension of the full-time team, I know we can get through this. We've got a few very difficult weeks ahead, but they're difficult for all the right reasons, because we've put ourselves right back in the centre of the fight where the country needs us to be, because we have this resource, which is all of you, with all of your incredible backgrounds and experiences, most importantly, just your desire to help. And you can do things that others in this sector can't. So we're in the fight, and this is where we're going to stay for the next few weeks, and we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until this heavy lifting is done, and then we're going to start looking for a way out of this, because as I said, we're racing towards 365 days. Team, I'll keep these pumping. Thanks for everything that you're doing on the ground. It is absolutely remarkable. I'll be in Salisbury again tomorrow, Shepton Mount on Friday, and I'm going to try and get around as many of you as I can to thank you in person. But if I can't see you in person, please know just how much I appreciate everything you're doing at this most extraordinary time. Right, stay safe, team. Speak to you all soon.